Hello, and thank you for joining me for a science degree overview for here at Blue Water Middle College and SC4. The first part of the video is going to go over the document that you see on your screen right now. It's referred to as a worksheet at the Blue Water Middle College. What it is a one-page resource where students can take the information that would typically be found on SC4's webpage, and it's on their webpage. It's kind of spread out. There's a lot of great resources and different features that you could take advantage of. But it's really nice to also have the ability to look at this one-page document so that you can have everything kind of in one place. So I'm going to explain this part first in the first half of the video, and then the second half we're going to use the rest of the video to talk about SC4's webpage dedicated to the science degree, and we can look at all the features that are available to you for that degree exploration with the website. So the first part about this website or this worksheet is to look at the degree requirements up at the top left corner here. And the three main degree requirements is that a student has to get to 60 credits and they have to be at 100 level or higher. The 100 level is not going to be something that you're going to have a hard time doing because all of the SC4 classes are now 100 level. A few years ago, they had some 50 level classes as a way to kind of college prep, but those are no longer something that is being offered. So 100 level is kind of obsolete, but still there as far as a requirement in the listing officially. The 60 credits is something that is non-negotiable. You have to reach it if you were to, at the end of your experience at SU4, apply for graduation for your degree and be short of any credits, you would not be eligible to earn this. They do not make any exceptions. So that is a hard rule. The degree worksheet is something that you could use to record the number of credits that you are receiving each semester with every class that you're taking, and I'm going to show you how to do that. The next list or the next requirement is the GPA requirement of a 2.0 cumulative GPA. So that means that your total GPA at the end of your SC4 experience has to be a 2.0 or higher. Again, very hard rule. We have had some students that have met all the other requirements of the degree except for this one, and they have not been able to earn the degree. So that is a hard rule. You can earn lower than a 2.0 in an individual class, but as long as your overall GPA is a 2.0, then you'd be able to meet the requirement. The next and final is going to be that you need to have at least 18 of your credits for this degree out of the 16 actually being earned through SC4 itself. There is, as a community college, a lot of opportunity for students to move from one community college or university back and forth. And SC4 will allow you to do that if you have earned credits at another institution and you want to have them transferred over to SC4's system and added to your student account. They could go ahead and increase the credits that you've earned, the total, and as long as 18 again are earned here out of the 60, they can be used towards your degree completion. So moving forward down the list, I'm going to go ahead and look at the first column, and we're going to talk about the requirements in each section, and then give you some tips and tricks to consider as you're going through and kind of thinking about planning in the future. So the degree is listed into different chunks, and what it is it's a great alignment of what the state of Michigan has for the Michigan Transfer Agreement, commonly referred to as the MTA. And SC4 has taken their degree and they have built it around MTA. So Michigan Transfer Agreement has different focus areas that they want students to have some experience in. And those areas are social science, humanities, science, then we have the math, and then the writing. So those 5 areas. After that, SC4 adds additional requirements, and they, in this case, just had the additional courses to make it so students have more areas or more opportunities to take more classes and what they want to go into professionally. So it's kind of a more open area to explore based on what you want to do and where you want to go after SC4 as far as a college, in-state, out-of-state, whatever it is that you choose. So for the social science area, the first category that is listed, it's not a category that you necessarily need to finish first, but it's something you have to do at some point. It says that you have 2 classes with a C grade or higher from 2 different disciplines. So there's 7 different options here in this list. And it says that the 2 different disciplines means that you're taking your 2 classes, they both can't be anthropology, or they both can't be history, or they both can't be sociology. You have to do from 2 different. So it could be one economics, one political science, one psychology, one sociology, whatever it is that you're interested in, okay? Now, when you're looking at this list, the parentheses behind it will indicate if it's a category that you can take any SE4 class in. In this case, anthropology, there's more than one anthropology class, with this code being, when you're picking classes, that's the code that's going to be used to separate it from all the other classes being offered. And then there's also a number listed. So it could be anthropology, ANT 171, which is be intro to anthropology, or another anthropology class. But in this case, since nothing specifically is listed for a number, it could be any anthropology class. For economics, there's two choices. It could be Econ 221 or 222. For geography, there's different types of geography. SC4 has the human geography classes right here for 102, or the religious geography 233, but they also have some science geography based classes that would be listed down here in the science area. So you have to be very specific when you're looking at these classes that you take the right number. If you don't take, if you take a class that isn't listed here, you cannot use it for this category. So for example, if you were to use Geo 101, which is actually an earth science class in the geography major, then you wouldn't be able to use it as one of your social science areas because it's not listed as one of the two acceptable ones. Same with history. This is US history, the first half, second half of US history, and then some different looks of American history for different cultures or different groups of people. You will see also here for the history, there's history that is listed down in the humanities section. This is a world history. So if you were to take 101 history, you wouldn't be able to count it up here in social science because again, it's not the one listed, okay? So when you are taking your classes, these lines over in front of each one of the listed types of classes you can pick from is where we want you to record the number of credits that you're taking. So a lot of our new students, they're taking political science, for example, and they would put a 3 here because political science is worth 3 credits. Sociology is also worth 3 credits. And those of you taking psychology 180 it is going to be worth 4 credits. So what happens when you're doing this is it's a nice way to keep track of how many credits you have. SC4 system, which we're going to show you in demonstration, but also in another video for you to look back on. Their student account that they have for you does not record any longer how many credits you've earned. There was a flawed system a number of years ago and they got rid of it. So in order to keep track of where you stand towards the total number of credits that you need for your degree, you're going to have them recorded and you're going to have to keep track of them themselves. So this worksheet is really helpful in that way of keeping things in one place and helping you make sure that you're not only taking the right classes, but you are keeping track of how many credits they're earning you so that you can work towards your degree. So the next section says that you have the humanities. It's very similar to the social science category in the sense that it has 2 courses. You have to get a C grade or higher, and it has 2 different disciplines. So these are the classes you get to pick from. Same, you can only pick from the listed classes if they are present, but if it is something that is open-ended and it just says philosophy, it can be any philosophy class. When you are looking at the C grade or higher, if you were to take the Art 120, which is art appreciation class, and you were to get a C- or lower, you can still get credit for something for your degree, even if it's a D-. If it isn't the C, you wouldn't be able to count it into the category as one of the 2 classes. But down here on the right, we have a section called the electives, where a student could go ahead and use this for a variety of reasons. But for this reason, if they were to have a class that, even if it was a category appearing in social science or humanities or any of the other ones, but the grade wasn't high enough, they could go ahead and they could write it down in the class and the number of credits earned, because as long as it's a D- or higher, it's still going to earn you college credits. It's just not going to meet the requirements specifically for the category that it was fitting in. And it also is not going to transfer most likely to another institution. Most colleges will not take anything less than a C grade for transfer. But when we again are looking at the total credits for the degree, 60 is what it'll help you contribute to. It just won't necessarily, again, transfer. When it comes to your overall GPA, though, again, you have to make sure that you are getting at least a 2.0 or a C average. So moving down the list, you can see the sciences here. Still, again, 2 courses, C grade or higher, and both of the 2 that you use, and from 2 different disciplines. And this one has an added note of making sure that at least one of the classes has a lab. And I know that this worksheet doesn't list out which classes have labs and which ones do not. But later in the video, when we're looking at SC4's website, I will show you how to look at the course descriptions and how to see which one has a lab and which one doesn't. But I do want to reassure you that most of the classes that SC4 offers in science categories are going to have a lab. Very few, there's only like 3 that don't. So looking at the list, you can see that astronomy, biology, chemistry, they're all going to be open-ended. You can take any of them. The one exception is going to be the geography classes. Remember back up here, when it came to the social sciences, we have a couple geo classes that are not going to be science-based. They're going to be geography of human geography and religious geography. These ones down here is going to be earth science and meteorology. Okay. So when you're doing that, please make sure that you are also, if you're looking at earth science and meteorology, they don't seem like they're the same type of class. But please know, since they are in the geo section, they would qualify as the same discipline, and they wouldn't meet this requirement if you were going to take both of them for your science requirements. So you have to do 2 from different categories. So you could do earth science and then astronomy, or earth science and chemistry. You just can't do 2 of the geo classes. Okay. So looking up here at the top, the next column is going to bring us to the math section. And the math section, we have the minimum requirement being listed, the 1120 and 1121. These are both statistics classes. This is intro to statistics, and this is intro to statistics with support. The difference between the two is when it comes to the class, this support class is going to be one that has more built-in tutoring and guidance for the student. That's still same content, it just has more built-in support. And then the 1130 is going to be the pre-calc class. So you could go ahead and go higher, but these are the bases that you can do. So it's statistics or pre-calc, or you could go higher. Now, when it comes to the math placement, unlike the social science, the humanities, and the science classes, for the most part, you have to have some testing done in order to register for a math class, and also an English class. So students that are coming in as their first year, they don't have an SAT completed yet. They haven't done an SAT until the end of 11th grade with their partner high school. But if you're a 12th grader or a 13th year, then you have most likely completed the SAT. If you've done the SAT and you haven't done as well as you wanted to, or you haven't done the SAT yet, you could go ahead and take a test here at SC4. It's called the AccuPlacer. There's a video on our website that'll show you how to register for that. But the test here at SC4 allows you, if you pass, there's an English portion and a math portion, to register for an English or a math class. But there are some upper level science classes that will also need you to have a certain level of math completed or a test score completed in order to get into that class, such as physics and chemistry, for example. Sometimes students think that they can go ahead and hold their spot in an English or a math class and then test later. They just want to make sure that they get that spot because they're pretty positive they're going to be able to pass the test and do well. They just haven't taken the AccuPlacer or have an SAT completed yet. And unfortunately, the SC4 system does not let you do that. If you do not have a test on file and it is not a passing test, then you will not be able to register the class. They don't want to have you take a seat or a spot from a student that is able to register for that class. They don't want to fill up and then find out later that the students were filling up a class and it wasn't something they ended up being able to take. So when it comes to the AccuPlacer, if you need help, you can watch the other video, you can ask for assistance and we can get you registered for that test so you can take it. So we'll talk about the difference between the two for the the regular statistics or statistics with support when we go to SC4's website. I'm going to show you a little bit of information about that. The next section is going to be the writing. It is a little bit different than the first 3 categories again. The writing says that you can do English 100 or 101, and then you have to do English 102. So there's 2 classes that you have to do. You get to pick which one you want to do from the first one, you have to do the second. English 100 and English 101 is the same concept as statistics and statistics with support. So English 101 is the general class that has been around for years. English 100 is a newer class in the last few years, and it is that English 101 content with built-in support. So when we go to the SC4 website, I'm going to show you how they're different. It's basically going to be the mandatory class hours and the time you have to be spending in class to get the extra support. So by this class, the English 101 is a 3-hour class. This class is going to have an additional 3 hours that you're going to have to attend each week. So it's going to be a 6-hour per week class. So when you're doing your testing, either through the SAT or the AccuPlacer, or if you've done the SAT and again, you didn't score high enough and you wanted to take the AccuPlacer, then you'd be able to place into this. Your test results will be immediate with the AccuPlacer, so you'll be able to find out which one you can register for. I'd like to point out at this point that students that are taking and completed the English 100 or the English 101, you don't have to do English 102 right away, depending on what you want to do. Some students really love to do upper level English classes, and the prerequisite for the literature requirements over here in the humanities section is just the completion of 100 or 101 English. So if you wanted to do the 100 or 101 and then skip down here and maybe get a humanities done, if you wanted creative writing or British literature, you could do that. And then you could come back and do 102. So that is something kind of interesting if you're interested in that. So the next section is going to be that you have to do 2 classes from one of the listed courses down here, and they have to do a C grade or higher, but it doesn't have to be from different disciplines. So this is really where students, depending on what you want to do professionally, can continue to work in that area of interest. Let's say you wanted to go into the medical field and you were interested in doing biology and chemistry and some physics. Then you want to stay away from the astronomy, and the earth science and meteorology and the physical science. You want to spend, again, more time in the biology, chemistry, and the physics. So if you were to do 2 of them over here in this category from 2 different disciplines, maybe chemistry and biology, then you could go ahead and you can spend more time in those same areas over in the additional categories. So you could do 2 more bio classes, you could do 2 chemistry classes, 1 of each, whatever it is. It can be something that you continue to explore based on what your pathway is and what you've met with an advisor and what you want to do in your transfer agreement. You cannot double dip a class. So if, for example, you were to take a biology class, you couldn't use it in both categories. Okay, same with chemistry or anything else. So if you use a class, and it can only be counted once, and it doesn't matter which one it is, whatever best works for you, but it can only be counted once. Down here in the elective section, when you're looking at classes, if you are wanting to do a science or a math major, you can go ahead and do that. You can take all of your required classes listed out, the 2, the 4, the 6, the 8, the 9, and then 11 total. But you're still going to, after you do those 11 basic classes, still going to have even more classes that you can take on the interest that you have to get to the 60 required credits. Those 11 classes are not going to add up to 60. You're going to have to do something additional. So you could do more classes from all the listed areas. You could do 3 or 4 humanities. You can do 4 or 5 additional courses, whatever it is you're interested in. But SC4 does have other areas that are not listed on this degree that you could also explore. There's business classes, there's computer classes, there's graphic design classes, there's criminal justice classes. There's different things that you can explore as far as health careers that are not listed. So if you were interested in any of those other things that SC4 offers, you could record the class down here on the list and then the number of credits that you are going to be earning from that class so that you can make sure that you're not losing anything or not keeping track of something to get to the 60. So again, this degree is hitting all the basics so you can get your transfer agreement done, so you can get your general education class requirements so that when you go away to university, you get MTA satisfied with the social science, the humanities, the science, your math, and your writing. But then the other half of your degree is going to be focusing on what you want to do professionally or doing some career exploration depending on the classes that you want to take. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to SC4's degree to kind of do an overview of what they're offering for their website. Okay, so SC4's website, as you can see, up here at the top, it's going to have a list of options for you to pick from for the different links. We're going to go to programs. And then it's going to take us to their transfer-based degrees, then their applied degrees, which we're going to show in another video. And then we'll show MTA here in a little bit. So we're going to go to the Associates in Science. And as we scroll down, it's just going to talk about how it is going to be a degree that transfers, and MTA, we're going to go to course requirements. And this is where you're going to find that same information that we were discussing on our worksheet and this longer kind of version with a lot of hyperlinks to kind of look at course descriptions. You have a couple options to print the documents. You can go ahead and click this first icon, which is going to produce all the information in a chart format so that you can keep track of things. It could be the semester that you took the class, the grade that you earned. It does list the number of credits, so you can kind of look at the requirement to see what it is that you need to do, and you can mark them off that way. The other option, when you do this print option, is it just takes that same information, just lists all the opportunity you have for classes, so you can see what it is that you're interested in. The first part of it goes through and just talks about the general makeup of the degree and the requirements. You need to do either 101 or 100, and then English 102. You have to do 2 humanities classes from 2 different disciplines. You have to have at least a statistics or a pre-calc or higher math class, 2 science classes from 2 different disciplines with at least 1 lab, 2 social sciences, and at least 2 classes from the additional courses, which were listed, and they'll be appearing again here in a little bit. You have to make sure that you're getting at least 60 credits and that your GPA is going to be a 2.0 or higher. So moving down, when we're looking at the requirements, as promised in the earlier part of the video, we were looking at the communications, and I wanted to show you how English 100 and English 101 were different, and we'll do the same thing with math. So when it comes to the course descriptions, you're going to see that the content is going to be the same, but when you're looking at the prerequisites, you can see that you need to make sure that you have a SAT or an AccuPlacer test completed in order to register for the class. And then below that, it's going to show you the number of hours or contacts that the credits are going to be for the class that you earn. So for English 101, it's going to show you have 3 credits. It's 3 lectures. So it's 3 hours per week that you're going to be into this class. Now, if you go up here to the 101, or I'm sorry, the 100, it's going to show you that it's 3 credits plus it's 3 contacts, which is going to be like 3 work-based hours, almost like a workshop. So that the entire week, this class is going to be 6 hours in total. And that's really going to explain to you when it comes to your time commitment, what you're going to be looking at each week. So if you are a student that has a prior commitment, like a job or a sport, or you have some type of family obligation that you needed to go home and be with younger siblings, this really shows you when you're doing your scheduling and picking your classes, what you're getting yourself into so that you can make wise choices for yourself. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is put these back so you can kind of see the flow. So you get to pick one of these 2, and then you have to do English 102. For humanities, it says 2 different courses from 2 different disciplines with a C grade or higher. The nice thing about this option again is it not only lists all the classes, instead of it just saying English 200, it tells you all of the English classes that SC4 offers throughout its experience. It doesn't mean it's going to be offered every semester, but it is something that it has offered or will be offering in the future. Now, when you're looking at the first link, if you go ahead and click on it, it's going to tell you what the course description is. It's going to tell you what the prerequisites are. In the humanities section, most of them are going to be no prerequisite for the base class. But as you go into the higher ones, like 200 level classes, then you're going to have maybe the first intro class completed before you can take more. It then will show you the number of credits that the class is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come down to the creative writing to show you one of those prerequisites. We did the prerequisite for the English that said you had to have the testing done, but in the other types of prerequisites are going to be you have to have a specific class completed. So in order to get into 202, as we discussed earlier, you have to have either English 101 or 100 completed in order to be registered for this class. Going down the list, again, because it's so many options, it just continues to produce those things for you because you can look at the options. Now, going down to the math, it will list all the different options for the math. As we discussed earlier, we have statistics, and then we have statistics with support. Same with the English. This will go through and it'll tell you that you have to have a placement done for the class. Before you get into it, you would have to also, in this case, if you didn't place right into statistics, you would have to do some lower level math to build up to the content knowledge so you could be successful in the class. So this is algebra 1 or algebra 2, for example, is this first class. Now, this class, as you can see, it's a 4-credit class. It's 4 hours in for lecture, but the support class is going to have 2 built-in lab contact hours. So this class is going to have a 6-hour requirement for your commitment each week for this class. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lower those. And then the upper level classes, again, you can test into, or you can reach up to those higher levels when it comes to doing some lower level math class and then working up to that. For the science category, I had said earlier that I was going to show you how you could check to see if there was a lab. So astronomy, for example, that's one of our classes that has no lab. You don't have any prerequisites. After the description, you can just go ahead and register for this class. And it is strictly a lecture class. It's no thing where you have to do a lab. You can add a lab to that class if you wanted to take 104 and also take 106, which is the lab portion of it, as a voluntary extra. You can go ahead and do that, and you can make your astronomy a science with a lab, but it's not a requirement. You don't have to do the lab class. You could do it as just a lecture class. Now, if we go down to Bio 101, it shows you that this class, again, has no prerequisites, but it does have a lab built in. It's not optional. It is part of the class. So you can go ahead and you can do this class, and that can be your one science class with a lab. And as you go scrolling through all of the science classes, you're going to find the same thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at the Bio 206, and I'm going to show you how the prerequisites, again, it's not testing, it's going to be the completion of classes. So having one of these classes completed would gain you access, so you could go ahead and register for the microbiology, which is a very large class. It's going to be 5 credits, so it's going to be some lecture and some lab put together, so 7 hours per week in order to complete this class for this one class. Moving down the list, social science, as in our worksheet, 2 courses from 2 different disciplines with a C grade or higher. And it goes through and lists the classes so that you can see what your options are. When you're getting into something, for example, like psychology, there's lots of different psychology classes, but you can't get into these upper level psychology classes until you take intro to psychology. Once you have that psychology class completed, it will open the doors to the rest of the classes. So for example, once you do 180, you can get into 230, as it sees right here for the psychology 180 prerequisite. The additional courses are going to be repeats of the math and science categories that you had in your worksheet that we were showing you. So it really gives chance or give an opportunity to students to go into more exploration about what they want to do professionally, what direction you want to take, and we can help you pick those classes when you come in and have a conversation with us for advising, or you work with an SC4 advisor. If you have any questions about the degree and you have any more need some more guidance, or need to pick some classes and have some questions about what you're going to do for semester availability, let us know and we'll be happy to help. Thank you so much.